Welcome back, everybody. Hope you guys are excited for another video. As always, my name is Dan, and for today, we'll be taking a look at how to peak angles offensively on the attacking side. If you're having trouble starting up the offense and in a rut, well, we're here to come help get you out. After this video, you'll be taking heads off in no time and getting huge entry frags to open up sights for your team. But before we jump into today's video, I wanted to ask, how do you like the new name for the highest rank in Valorant? As some of you might have seen, it's now called Radiant instead of Valorant. Interesting choice, as if you want to flex that you're part of the top 0.1% of players, you would now say you're Radiant in Valorant instead of Valorant in Valorant. I feel like there are a lot better options than Radiant, but that won't ruin my ranked experience too much. Let me know if you guys like it or other ideas that you've come up with, and tell me in the comment section below. Before we hop into today's video, I wanted to mention that this video is a sequel to our previous video, The Best Angles in Valorant. If you haven't seen that already, I'd highly recommend checking it out if you're struggling on the defensive end on holding angles. For this video, we're going to be going over more offensive style peeking, but at the same time, a lot of the fundamental concepts we talked about in the Best Angles video do still carry over. Those concepts being the usual crosshair placement, angle advantage, and jiggle peeking. If you need further help understanding these concepts, you can always go to ProGuides.com and choose a coach to help you. Instead of talking about those concepts that we've already talked about, I'm going to dive into other useful tips that are utilized on the offensive side. Well, I always say this, but for the first tip, always try to walk until you're about to make contact. If you feel like you're dying to a lot of gunfights without knowing where enemies are, it's probably because you're running too much. Running when you don't know where enemies are is a big problem, as they might be in a position to hear your footsteps. If they know where you are and you don't know where they are, they will always have the upper hand, as their crosshair will be much closer to your head than yours to theirs. Always try to conceal your position as much as you can before you make contact. The element of surprise is always beneficial and lowers your risk of dying. Just like in real life, you should be walking as much as you can. As the great Chris Smoove once said, playing stealthy is healthy. Tip 2, segueing from walking. This technique helps preserve stealth and still gives you the best advantage on peeking. This is the running walk peek. This technique is basically where you walk close to the corner of a hot zone and expect a gunfight. You would then run full peek for like half a second and then go back into a walk if you don't see somebody. Enemies that are hiding won't be able to hear if you've made a step or not if you've done this correctly. This technique is extremely useful for giving you the best of both worlds. If there is an enemy in front of you, you will be a lot harder to hit at full running speed as opposed to if you're walk peeking. Whenever you walk peek an angle, it's usually a pretty free kill for the opponent if they're holding that angle. If there are no enemies in your sight, you still have not given any information that you're in the vicinity if they're hiding. This is the most optimal technique to use when sneaking up and peeking an angle. Be sure to practice this, as it will come very handy on the offensive side. Another note to add is to learn how to drop quietly from an elevated position. I find a lot of times that dropping quiet is very useful in a lot of the maps, as there's a lot of steps and elevation in many places. Moving on to the third tip, another good tip that's actually severely underrated and not talked about enough is called smoothing. Smoothing is when you move your crosshair smoothly on a horizontal plane to clear corners and keep good crosshair placement on head level. This is extremely useful to do because Valorant is a slower paced game with opponents normally holding passive angles. So if a huge part of the game is holding angles, then you have to know how to have the best technique to clear them, and smoothing is one of the best. I always try to warm up practicing on how to clear corners in Valorant before I start a gaming session. In order to do that, I practice the smoothing technique to make sure that I have as much control as I can over my mouse. Doing this daily will give you the best advantages by having a steady mouse and being able to clear corners optimally. You can practice this motion in many different drills, but if you're looking for drills to do, watch our Aim Like the Pros guide on our channel. Mainly tracking drills are perfect for this kind of mouse motion and smoothing, so make sure you keep up your practice and aiming routine so you can do this properly. This will help you so much in the long run. For my last tip I want to cover, we're going to cover pre-firing. Pre-firing works only if you have really good crosshair placement. This is the act of counter-strafing early and shooting into an area you expect the opponent to be. On their screen, it'll look like hacking, but it'll simply be you outplaying them with your humongous brain and genetically gifted mechanical ability. There are numerous ways to get information to set this up, such as jiggle peeking, cipher or sova abilities, jump spotting, and also footsteps. This is the reason why information is key. If you do know where the opponent is, you can pre-fire their location, giving you the first shot like Han Solo. Of course, as I said, make sure you do have good crosshair placement paired with counter-strafing when you do this. Otherwise, you'll look like a noob to Valorant that came straight from Call of Duty. In this next segment, I'm going to be talking about different angles to peek on different maps. Let's start out with Haven. For long A, it's highly recommended that you peek early towards this corner next to the orb. Most of the time, opponents like to play this spot watching long A. If you can push them back onto site early or kill them, your team will have a lot more map control to work with and you won't have to worry about flanks. If you do get early kills, don't be afraid to power onto site with the man advantage. For a lot of these angles, flashes are great to get the defender off the angle or fully blind them for an easy kill. Also, gathering info with abilities like Cypher Cam and Sova Arrow are great ways to find enemies and make getting kills so much easier. Next angle is the mid window outside of B. This angle is really risky to peek in the first 10 seconds. Normally, I like to hold the garage push from this angle and then peek out of the window later into the round. You can also smoke the B side entrance just to get control of mid early if you don't want to peek at it and start moving closer towards B or garage while walking. From the window, hold the garage push, then slowly clear the left side first, and then move on to the right side angle. Remember not to fully run out to the middle of the window when peeking, as that exposes yourself to too many angles that you might not be ready for. Moving to the garage, this is a place where you need utility to help you get past those double doors. You want to smoke out the window and flash in if you have them. If you run straight in without preparing, you'll probably get sprayed down along with your teammates. Have your Breach, Reyna, or Phoenix help flash in first and clear close right to window to close left. For C-Long, it's very common for an operator to be posted up in this position. Make sure somebody isn't peeking with an operator first by jiggle peeking or jump strafe spotting to bait out a shot. If you're just peeking it regularly and don't see anybody, then try to bait them out by tapping the orb once or twice. It may entice them to stick their head out a little bit for you to take. This angle, you want to clear the top of the back platform into the angle behind the default box. Pretty straightforward. On Ascent, I'll start off in A main. Peek this corner overlooking the orb, as defenders usually like to prod for information. You might get an easy kill leading to an A push. If they don't peek it, you can walk up and do the running walk peek into the A site. You might be lucky and sneakily catch defenders off guard. Moving off to the spacious wide open mid, peeking lower mid link to Cat is a great angle. Defenders usually like to peek out for information. If you aren't confident winning in that kind of long-range duel, I would suggest to smoke it off and peek at markets to make your way for a split B. If you do get a pick on Catwalk, the rotations are pretty bad for defenders and you can go up Catwalk and do a split A. For this angle, just clear the Catwalk and go right to left, peering into markets afterwards. For B main, make sure to clear defenders peeking, as you want to take control of B main off of this corner. After you gain control of B main, peek starting from the lever door to defender spawn to the site. Smoking those spots are great too, and then you can start closing the door on the rotators coming from the market area. For split, let's start off with B main. Make sure to hold for the initial push if you start hearing footsteps, otherwise you can push in. If they do have Cypher here, try to break the trap wire with whatever you have. There are a lot of ways to do so, like Sova Shock Dart, Raze Boombot, and Jet Dash. Peek out of B main, starting from close left out of B main to the back left, and then behind the pillar. Remember to shoot down any cams early in the round so Cypher is pressured to pop cyber cages or peek. If they don't have cyber, B is pretty easy to take with some smokes, sage wall, and flashes. As for mid peeking out, Ramen and sewers are equally as good. If you're taking mid, I'd advise to constantly smoke vents out so you only have to worry about a person in mailroom. After you get closer, you want to start clearing mailroom close right and then moving on to B tower. Time is crucial here, as if you wait too long, you might get flanked or the smoke vents dissipate. After you get B tower, it's pretty free, as you probably need to just clear the remaining defenders left on site, which is probably going to be 1. With high ground, you'll be overseeing the site, leaving the defenders little to no places to hide. You can also cut off rotation and get into the defender spawn as well. For A main, they normally throw utility out early. Make sure to wait this out before looking for engagements. If they don't smoke, or after the smoke wears out, remember to clear angles properly. First would be looking at the A main choke and then right side of the ramp to left, and then clear close corner. When clearing ramp, remember to move your crosshair placement up, as it has elevated height. After taking control of A main, you can choose to go for Heaven or go straight onto site. Heaven makes it easier to take control of A, but it's a lot harder to take than just running A main. If you're running onto site without Heaven control, smoke Heaven and screens and clear out the person on site. For bind, at the beginning of the round, I like to hold showers. I often hold for a wide swing for like 10 seconds and then push up to clear showers. You want to hold this angle right here behind the boxes in case somebody peeks. If they don't peek, you can also just rotate back to a short and regroup with the team B. For A short, I like to pre-fire these two angles at U-Haul and next to the double boxes. This is just to get defenders off this angle, and it's usually pretty effective, as I get easy headshots occasionally here. A common tactic is to smoke U-Haul early so you can take control of A short and then maybe peek into sight. For hookah, you can hold passively for the first few seconds to make sure they aren't aggressive or flashing out. After a while, you can start walking into hookah. Clear the first angle next to the box and clear left to right when you walk in. Having a breach is very effective here to fault line and flash your team in. After making your way into hookah, make sure you're careful of anybody TPing behind you. When pushing from hookah, make sure you don't have more than 3 people in there. It's very cramped if you do. Lastly, at B long, again, hold passive waiting for a push. This is also a great spot for flash, so if you know they have a Reyna/Breach/Phoenix, play a little bit more patiently. After they use their flash, it's a cue to peek. At the start, when you're about to peek left to right. Afterwards, when you get closer, hold your crosshair on garden and start making your way to peek sight. Peek under hookah and clear right side to your close left. Smoke the elbow and defender spawn on the execute. And that is all for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, as I hope you could take away something from this video. This was aimed toward the attacking side on how to be a force as an attacker and crack open teams' defenses. You need to have all these techniques listed in the video and apply them in your games to become a great player. Your teammates will be in awe and follow you where you go to get a free spike plant. If you enjoyed the video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. All your support does help out the channel, so thank you so much again for watching. My name is Dan. You can follow me everywhere at Daniel Ammerman, and I'll catch you guys and gals next time. Peace.